From Founders Financial, this is the Built by and for podcast. Partner-to-partner conversations for independent financial advisors. Today, host Stephen Watts, Chief Growth Officer at Founders Financial, sits down with Justin Neria, Chief Technology Officer, and Jane Maccubbin, Senior Compliance Officer at Founders Financial, to discuss zero trust architecture and turning cyber into a competitive advantage. Bridges don't break at their strong points. They break at the weak ones. In our industry, the weak point is usually the advisor. Here's the conversation.
So, Justin, I'm curious from your perspective, why is cybersecurity no longer just an IT issue for advisors?
Well, it's always been that the first line of defense is those who are on the front line, right? Which is, in this case, the advisors. They're the ones who are targeted and trying to be manipulated by malicious attackers all the time. We see it every day, thousands and thousands of attacks. And more recently, we've had spoofing attempts where people are getting emails. And the point is that you are, it being the advisor, is the first line of defense. So if you see something suspicious or something odd, the IT team there is to support you, but it's also needs to be well known, and they need to be educated on how it is to spot and identify these malicious attacks, is what we do as part of our cybersecurity platform, right? So
I remember when I first joined the industry with another firm. This was 26 years ago. And that firm had just gotten a website. And so there really wasn't a huge infrastructure with things in place. And we just kind of approached things as no matter what I do is going to be okay because there's an IT team over in the corner that's keeping us safe. And I don't even think we thought about it to that lens. We thought I wouldn't be able to do it if it wasn't safe to do. And I think the world has definitely changed that. I mean, what's your...
Yeah, I would say I think Justin is right. I'm going to say it through a different lens. The bad actors of our world are going to try to find the point of weakness, the weakest point. Bridges don't break because of the strong points; they break because of the weak points. Yeah. And so, in the independent broker-dealer RIA space, unless a firm has a comprehensive, they're in control, they do it all platform. Which most don't. It's ad hoc in our industry. Right. The bad actors realize that the advisor is the path of least resistance. They're the least educated, to your point. They're the least trained. They, to some degree, probably, and maybe this isn't fair, kind of take it for granted a little bit that what they've been told by their partner firms enough. And frankly, I just don't think they take it seriously enough. And so, regulators are making hard pushes towards these points, and I think that's the right thing to do, candidly. Yeah. This will sound odd coming from me, but this is something like probably the wirehouses are doing better than the independents. When you have control of everything, and this is a focal point, because it's just that important. Great. We read about malicious attacks, data breaks every single day. And what do you want to spend your time doing? Cleaning up this mess that was mostly and probably preventable because you haven't taken it seriously, or you want to go the other way. Yeah. So.
Well, and the truth is, there are tools out there that anyone can go and record your voice, take your picture, and FaceTime their advisor or call their advisor and present themselves as a client. And that's not something I think an IT team could detect. I mean, I'm assuming that you can't. I mean, we can't. You're not going to be
amazed. I tell you, Jane, you'd be very surprised what Justin, our guy here, can do.
He's pretty. Yeah, he pulls a lot of rabbits out of his hat. But I feel like can you listen to a phone call and detect that this voice has some type of overlay on it? I don't even know that we're there. And so to that end, I feel like the only person who can do that is the advisor to weed that out, because they know that relationship, they know who that person is, they can ask questions to affirm identity.
No, you hit the nail right on the head, right? It's the relationship.
Thank you.
So a lot of the time when we're getting calls, the IT team, we can pretty much identify because we have that relationship, that rapport with all of our members, and we know who they are, we know how they act, we know the questions they would ask. And when they ask odd questions or they send us emails of certain requests, we know it's not them. It's just because we know they would never ask for this,
Right.
or they wouldn't even know how to ask for this,
Right.
kind of questions.
Sure.
So we try to do our best to make sure we educate, but that's the first line of defense again is all of our, we call them in IT the end users,
Yep.
but it's our relationships and how we focus on helping them grow and understand. That way they can identify it, bring it to us. They have a lot of confidence in our IT team now, so they do rely on us quite often for that kind of
Right.
stuff. But it's better that they send it to us, we review it, and then
Totally.
we educate them on the process.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, for both of you, one from a regulatory lens and one from just your entry experience. Do you think advisors take this serious enough?
No.
Not really. There are some that do, and most of the time it's because they were affected at one point in time
Okay.
by some sort of experience that happened.
You learn the hard way
So
kind of thing, right?
They
Totally.
did. So we have quite a few who learned the hard way, but we're always there to support them. So
Yeah.
Right, sure.
Yeah, I think if it's kind of like, having your identity stolen. If it's never happened to you, you think, oh, the odds that
Right.
I'm safe online. I don't put my my credit card out wherever, and then once it happens to you and you can't figure out how it happened, then all of a sudden your guard goes up a little bit more.
And it's jarring.
Yeah.
It's jarring. So imagine you're an advisor, you serve however many households, and you come to learn that somehow, some way, you got to look in the mirror and be honest with you, as the weakest link, have not paid attention to something well enough.
Yep.
And while it's not your fault per se, it kind of is. I mean, that's jarring.
Yeah.
And the reputational risk, the issues you then go deal with, the time, the money, it's significant and serious. I don't personally believe, like all the advisors we talk to that are considering learning about founders, when we get to this point in the conversation, explain what we've done under Justin's leadership to build an incredible infrastructure to protect. They have, in many cases, they don't know what we're talking about because the firms they're with aren't talking to them about these things. Yep. It's not a conscious conversation. It's patchwork. It's, we have done enough in theory to maybe check a regulator's box that we can show we've done something. Yep. Because, candidly, and maybe I'm wrong, the regulators don't have A, B, C, D, E. They have, as anything, based on your firm, its size, its mix of business, it's this, it's that.
Yep.
What's the best approach? There's some standard to it, and so again, it's complicated in the independent space when you're trying to solve this problem collectively across our industry.
Yeah.
A lot's changed since COVID, right? And so in the context of us being forced out of our offices, which were our, from a cyber perspective, and as a cybersecurity professional, a preference because we got one thing to protect, and now we go to many. What have you seen? How have things changed, and what are the things advisors in this new world post COVID should be thinking about, aren't thinking about?
So the old mantra was to build the castle, build the gate, build the moat,
Right.
And then keep everything inside of it.
Right.
When COVID happened, you had multiple castles everywhere. Yeah. So then the entire idea of having to secure all that completely flipped.
Right.
So, and it had to be done in an urgency because of the fact that everyone was everywhere.
Right.
Now, the best part is that for the most part, technologists already worked in that sort of multiple site accesses and restricting access and so forth because all of the internet is set up at different locations all over the world, across the globe, so all that segmentation. And from being a network engineer in the past, that's what we're comfortable with. So the difficulty came into place when you have like multiple branch offices like we do. You have to control them, but also keep allowing them to do their day-to-day operations and to run their business.
Is control the right word, or is protect the right word?
So it is protect, but we do put controls in place.
But think about controls, and it's an important point here in the independent space, right? So it's one thing to control them. It's another thing to put controls in place so that they're protected and they can feel great about the work they're doing, that they don't have to worry about it.
No, that's true. And one of the best and positive feedbacks we've ever gotten is typically when it comes to security, it makes it inconvenient.
Right.
Yeah.
But when we implemented our zero trust system, it made it more secure and more convenient.
Yeah.
Because we have a system in place that authorizes everyone by, doing checks and balances during their entire access process.
Right.
Yeah.
So typically before you let them in the door and they do whatever they want. Now as they go through different data structures, they access different files, they access different things, it checks along the way and lets our IT team know if there's any inconspicuous items happening.
And I have to compliment you on that rollout, because I was talking to a friend the other day who works in a different industry, but she's in healthcare. And so also highly regulated, lots of security. And she was just ranting about all of the authenticators that she has to use. And I said, our system is set up in such a way that we don't need that because we have other controls in place. And I'm like, yeah, I forgot how inconvenient that was in those stops. So
Yeah, if you think about it, we actually have a castle, a moat that's visible to all the malicious attackers at every location. But then we also have the crocodiles, the sharks, the dolphins with lasers on their head. We have multiple layers of security in that moat before they even get to knock on the door.
yeah.
So.
I know it's interesting. The experience in Founders on this topic has been very interesting. Founders chose a very different path than what the industry's functionally chosen, and candidly at the time it was the harder path. It wasn't the path of least resistance. It wasn't the path to just check a box. We understood that it was our purpose, our almost obligation, requirement to do for our member partners, candidly, and Justin, see if you'd agree with this, that which they really can't do for themselves, right? It's not uncommon, and we always the cousin Vinny joke, but how many advisors run small independent practices, and it's their brother, it's their cousin, it's somebody putting the malware on their computer, whatever, Comcast business protection walls, those the basics, right? But the basics are easily worked around in the modern world with hackers, those kinds of things, and so we made a very difficult decision. We said that. We need to bring everybody into one platform, and it was hard. We brought every single member partner in for personal one-on-one meetings. We helped them understand, and candidly, at first, it felt like an invasion of independence. And I get that, right? They own their own practices, they own their own business and enterprises, and it felt like that to them. But as they began to listen, and as you guys know, we have a really high trust proposition with our member partners. They know we're not doing this to them; we're doing this with them and for them.
Yep.
And they got to begin to listen, and they got to hear what was being built, the castles, the moats, alligators and sharks, and all those amazing things. They realized that what was something that was an afterthought that shouldn't have been, that was weak for them that shouldn't have been, that was undervalued and shouldn't have been, suddenly got solved for them like that, and that yet they were still spending money on it too, without any understanding of was even money well spent or not. It's like you don't know you're in trouble when you don't know you're in trouble, right? And so is ignorance. Ignorance is bliss a little bit. And so once we got through their understanding, as you guys know, everything we do at Founders will help them understand why we're going to do it in pursuit of our built by and for culture, our shared resources, shared values culture. And so this was probably the grandest of those experiments, because it honored, and it was the true embodiment of interdependence, and because you could make the argument that, and you probably did use the right term earlier, controls were put in place, and how does that mean you're independent then, right? And looking back now, our members cherish this. They are nothing but thankful for it. It's been game changing for them as business owners, something even to think about, and they know that you, our team, are what you've built is something that they don't have to worry about anymore. It's been an incredible positive experience in Founders. And when I talk to recruits that are thinking about Founders, they've never talked about it with their firms. And then when they see how differentiated it is, it's a powerful attractor.
Well, and the truth is the independent space is really hard to implement this in, because
it's almost
if you're
impossible.
at a wirehouse, you've got 5 systems that you work in, and you can control those. And in the in the independent space, we're agnostic to a lot of the systems and technology, and so we need to make sure that all of those are good. And I think your team does a great job vetting those tools. And one of the the phrases that I hold on to is, we need to be right every single time. A hacker only needs to be right once. And I think we've built a platform in such a way that allows people to still be independent and the freedom of choice when it comes to different platforms, but also protecting all of that information that's inside. Because I think a lot of people don't think about just truly how valuable the data that they have in their offices is.
Yeah. I think one of the best parts that I see out of the outcome of this entire process is, one, the trust and the comfort that our member partners receive, and how they explain that to us, and the fact that they are like, I don't have to care about any of this stuff. You guys handle it for me.
Right.
And we love the fact that they have that confidence in us. So we're the Marines on the wall, as one of my old colleagues used to say.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. So then what does it produce? Peace of mind. And what does peace of mind produce? They can stay focused on the things that are most important, the things that actually make an impact to their clients, grow their enterprises, and help them live up to their missions at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Do you think advisors, do you think they're prepared? And we just painted a picture of the disjointed nature of our industry in contrast to how founders has tackled this very important issue. What's your experience, Justin, and how do you think advisors are or aren't prepared for this?
So it's very difficult to be prepared for this because it evolves every day.
Yeah.
Which is why they appreciate the fact that they have a team, our managed IT team, that's there for them.
Right.
Over the last year, we've had several onboards, and during each of them, they had no understanding of what their cyber footprint actually was. We had some join who were actually being attacked on a day-to-day basis, and they weren't even aware.
Wow.
Luckily, they didn't have any incidents occur. And usually when they join, we do an entire...
But it is luckily, right?
It is luckily.
Yeah, right.
Because they were using certain platforms that had certain minimal safeguards put in place.
Yeah.
But
the check the box minimal standards,
correct,
right?
Yeah. And they're never really understanding of what it actually means to be attacked every day. We've had member partners who didn't know that they get 6,000 somewhat attacks on them, just themselves, every day.
Right.
Because they don't understand what it is about data posture and data footprint.
Right.
So to answer the question, no, they're not really prepared for it. We do educate them when certain circumstances come up. And the best part is that we have our member partner virtual office that allows us to let everyone know, hey, there's certain cyber attacks that are occurring right now. Keep an eye out for them. And
just this weekend, you communicated to our entire community of advisors and team that you were ratcheting up some. I don't know exactly what you did. You make the magic, man. But yeah, it's just even this weekend, you caught something that was going on, and twist the dial, and we're that much more safe.
Yep.
Well, and I think a lot of organizations, they look at cybersecurity as an expense, that it's a line item cost, and as long as it's good enough and it meets the regulatory need, we're fine. And so they want to check the box, and they want to keep costs low. But I don't think anybody's ever, well, outside of us, I don't think people generally sit down and think about what is the impact to my organization if I was breached? What's the impact to my relationship? What is the impact to the confidence that all of my relationships have in me if their data were to be breached? I mean, we are protecting what people have worked their entire lives for.
Yeah, right.
And, I used to always reflect on when I was with a different firm, like people would literally put their life savings in an envelope, mail it across the country to someone that they never met before, and hope they did the right thing. Like, that level of trust is insane.
Yeah.
Now, granted, we have relationships, so it's a little bit better, but it's still the truth. It's everything that they've ever worked for. And honestly, I used to hear from my dad, I can't give you much, but I gave you your name. Well, in the world of cyber threat, you can lose that too.
Right, sure.
And so I think organizations really need to step back and reflect on not just what is the line item cost to check the box and to meet what everybody else is doing, but really of what is the cost to the organization, the actual dollar cost, the cost in confidence, the cost in damage control if one of those threats gets through.
Yeah, why do you think advisors fight this so hard? Independent advisors, why do you think they fight this so hard?
The cybersecurity aspect of it?
Yeah, like why, because again, we talk to advisors all the time, and this is, the general sense is this is not something that I want you to do for me, firm that I'm partnered with. It tends to be more controversial and it's not a warm fuzzy for them. Why do you think that is?
So the biggest conundrum that's always been in IT and cybersecurity is it's kind of like insurance. No one really cares about it until something happens.
So you need it.
And then when it does happen and you needed it, now you regret not having it.
Right.
So, and then it's hard to have a value proposition when something is just to protect you from something that hasn't happened yet,
Right.
like insurance.
Especially if you don't know the degree to which it's actually a real risk.
Correct.
Right.
And then if you have no actual live metrics, nothing's ever happened to you, you have
Yeah.
nothing to compare it to, and then they don't really think about it often
Yeah.
until the day it happens.
Yeah.
Right.
You're not happy you have car insurance until the day you get in a car accident.
And you might say, I haven't had a car accident for 6 years, I've been paying for this, why do I need it?
And
then-
I'm a good driver, and I do all things safely, but you
Exactly.
just don't you don't know, and it's accelerating, right? With AI, it's getting harder, right? And so I. What advice would you tell an independent financial advisor about this in the context of its importance and what they should be thinking about?
Well, the important thing is making sure you understand the risk that you bring to your enterprise, right? So cybersecurity is a large risk. You lose your data. Data is now more value in money,
You're right.
than actual currency.
Yeah.
With that data, you can do all kinds of things. You can manipulate credit reports. You can manipulate your client base. You can manipulate people to think that they're interacting with a specific individual with how AI is advancing.
Right.
Right.
We have Brad Shepard-Nedick that is pretty much Brad, but not so much Brad.
We're not letting that guy out. That's for sure.
But the amount of technology we have and how much it is advancing on a day-to-day basis
Yeah.
makes it more difficult. So it is important for them to understand the risk they take every time they send a PDF with maybe someone's sensitive
Yeah.
information in it.
Yeah.
So
So
And to your point about expense, I'm going to say most, maybe it's not right, many, you pick the term, firms or industry kind of see it that way.
Totally.
And what's the minimum viable product?
Yeah, it's not revenue generating.
Yeah, it's not revenue generating. It's a cost. It's yeah. And because you're independent, where's the boundary between my responsibilities as your partner, quote unquote, versus your responsibilities as the independent advisor, owner of your own business and practice, and where's that crash into each other?
Yeah.
At least our experience is that, well, as you know, we chose to blend that into one, but as we talk, advisors are becoming aware, they really are understanding the value and stuff, yeah. So.
And I want to go back because my brain is spinning right now to what you said, 6,000 times a day that one person was getting attacked. You could have told me 6,000 times a year, and I still would be just as shocked.
What's the number for our organization on a daily basis?
So for 2025, the average was 6,200 and something attacks a day.
Right.
Yeah.
That has sequentially increased with AI now being able to
Right.
run
Right.
data pools against all these black market data. Unfortunately, the difficulty is it's not typically advisor is the original target. It's a client of the advisor.
Right.
Yeah.
And because they are their financial advisor, they then become the target.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so it's interesting, and I wonder, one, how many advisors know how many times that they're getting attacked and can put that, because if you would have asked me, I probably would have said, once a day. A handful, a handful a day.
Yeah.
And so,
No, it's shocking. It's just shocking.
Yeah,
nobody actually knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brad is constantly attacked every day.
Yeah.
At least 30 or 40 times every hour. So, but we have systems in place that protects his
Right.
accounts.
And so you made an interesting point, though, that we've not talked about, and that is the role of the client in this, right? And we said the advisor is the weakest link. They're actually probably the second weakest link.
Yeah.
The weakest link is the client, right?
Yeah.
The person who literally doesn't know what they don't know. Right. They have a Yahoo email, or they have a this or that, or whatever, and so talk about, if you would, from a compliance lens. What do you think advisors should be doing in the context of educating their clients around this as a priority in what they deliver as value add?
Yeah.
And then, Justin, what advice would you give those same advisors on things they should be, not just educate, but teaching their clients about?
Yeah, so I think it's twofold. It's teaching their clients about being safe with their information, and then also being aware of what the threats that are out there. So the safety piece is, don't let your client email you their statement. That's stupid.
From their unprotected internal email
Either
box, right?
if you don't have a vault, there's other secure ways that you can share information, but just don't encourage bad behavior. But then the second piece is around informing them of the risks, and I would say it's at least once a week that I'm talking to an advisor where one of their clients has been the subject of some type of hack.
And sophisticated at times.
Oh, yeah. And the thing, and actually hack's a bad term because it's...
No, impersonations.
Yeah, exactly. They
right.
are actively participating in it and sending money to them.
Right.
And the sad thing is, the one that I talked to most recently, the advisor's like, no, I kept asking this person where the money was going, and they kept telling me, oh, it was going to my son, it's going here, it's going there. And he's like, and I knew that they weren't being truthful, but I also didn't know how I could get them to open up. And
right.
And that's the hardest thing.
So what would you tell them?
Yeah, so it's really about establishing yourself early on in the relationship and repeatedly of, I am use me as a sounding board to talk through things. If things seem like they're too good to be true, they probably are. And putting that information out there and having those conversations with people, because once somebody realizes that they've been that they've fallen for it, and you hit on it earlier, like you feel a lot of shame. Then it's how am I going to rebuild from this? Because it's not like somebody gave $50. I'm seeing 10,000, 20,000, 800,000 is the most recent one that I saw. And it's wild to me that these people who are otherwise...
tell me, please, that was an effort and not a success.
It was someone who believed that they were interacting with the government and thought they were paying their taxes.
Wow.
And they were not in either case, but it happens all the time. And so if you look at the numbers, it's billions of dollars a year. It's a very, very fruitful.
Yeah, as I say, if it wasn't good for the bad guys wouldn't do it, right?
Exactly. And so this is a case of you can't wait to talk to your clients about it when it happens. But we also need to present it to our clients from the lens of this is not a matter of if but when, because all of our information is out there.
So as a value proposition, as a value add, independent financial advisors should be explaining to our relationships how we, why we, what we, and so I'm sorry it can't be that easy, Mr. and Mrs. Client.
Yeah.
Here's the reasons for that, and you need to know what we're doing to make sure that you're in good stead.
Well, and beyond that, it's even let's talk about how to be safe on the internet. Don't accept friend requests from people you've never met before if you don't know their name. Because
are you suggesting we should parent our clients?
But it's wild when you start to unravel about how did that bad actor first get their foot in the door?
Yeah, right.
And it's literally, I sent them I got a friend request from someone, and we were in the same Facebook group whatever it was, and. And when the person looks back on it, they're like, "Gosh, how can I be so foolish?" But these people are sophisticated. Yeah. They've got it down, and so maybe not parenting's the bad word, but if you are, when you are engaging your relationships, whether it's through seminars or one-on-one. It's not just let me talk to you about how we save for retirement, but it's also let's just talk about good day-to-day habits, things that you probably don't think about that unknowingly introduce risk to your lives. Because ultimately, I am here to help you reduce risk across the board, whether it's in a diversified portfolio or in protecting your information.
Right. Yeah. Fair.
I mean, it's all about data footprint.
Yeah.
A lot of the more recent conversations I've had is because we have members who are sending secured emails to a client, and then the client's trying to forward that to their CPA, whoever it might be.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, I can't send it to them. And that's because they're not part of the original chain. And it's designed intentionally to stop people from getting access to it who aren't supposed to.
Right.
And then we'll get complaints about it. And I tell the advisors that that's actually an opportunity for you to open up a discussion to say, you need to be more cognizant and careful of your data posture, rather than saying, oh, I'm sorry, we'll do something else. Right? It's an opportunity to show them that you're here for them and you're doing your best to safeguard all their information, because you care not just about them, but their entire household.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a leadership conversation, right? And I think you said it both very well. Leadership isn't just about their financial plan, their investments, how they're going to protect their family with insurance, all these kinds of things. It's more than that. It's deeper and richer than that. And the most capable, successful advisors are going to lean into this as a strength of their firm, celebrate it as a differentiator ultimately.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about AI and the use of it recently in cybersecurity. One of the best examples I've seen was at, so they have a thing called DEF CON It's out of California. It's like a hacking convention.
Yep.
And they were
Sounds like a
demonstrating.
fun one.
It is. You should never bring your own real phone.
Okay, fair enough.
Is it ethical hacking or all hacking?
It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
Okay.
So, unfortunately, actually, there are malicious actors at those conferences.
Of course there are.
Yeah.
Trying to gather data.
That's the honeypot, right?
Right. So, one of the examples they gave there was they took a photo of a child that was on social media that parents posted. They aged it. They gave it a voice. They found their social security number, their address, date of birth, opened up
Wow.
accounts with it. Now, again, this was all a simulation.
Yeah, sure.
But it was an actual person's photos that they aged up.
Yeah.
Right. And,
Wow.
provide all information, doctor documentation. It's all about data.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's no paper anymore. It's,
Right.
what does the zeros and ones say to me on this computer screen?
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Oh, this is a valid person. Let me issue them a new credit card and
Right.
and go on from there. So
From your lens, I'm just curious. Do you think the protectors of cybersecurity, the big companies that have built the products that you then deploy, have they built really good? Like, do we have good castles and good boats and good sharks and good alligators, or do we need more from those? And what should we be doing on that front?
Well, the beauty of the stack that we've built is that we've catered it to our specific needs and our needs to offset certain risks.
Okay.
It's out of the box. A lot of them are good for, not just the bare minimum for what we're utilizing, but it meets certain standards because we tell them, hey, when we work with our vendor partners that, hey, this is what we need this for, and this is the kind of risk that we need to offset, and then we work with them to figure out the best applicable tools. But it's up to us to understand what it is business purpose-wise and application-wise, so we bring it to them. Now, we do have a largely Microsoft stack. I typically don't talk about what's actually in the stack, but most people have Microsoft Enterprise stacks nowadays.
Yeah.
Right.
And because of that, they have a lot of tools for us to use, and we have adapted them in ways that many others in our industry have not.
Right. Kind of our secret sauce, right?
It is, and that's why I pride myself on having an identity score of 100.
Aha, there you go.
I mean, every once in a while it does go down a little bit, but that's because there's new recommendations based on new attack vectors.
Sure.
Yeah.
And we make adjustments, and we try to keep it at that 100 score.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, and I think, the question really is, there is no piece of technology that is going to be good enough today, tomorrow, and indefinitely in the future.
Yeah.
And so it's not just is the technology good enough today, but what is their plan? How are they forward looking?
Sure.
How quickly can they adapt to, they being the technology company, to evolving threats? Because that's what you need. And I imagine standing up one of those structures is rather complicated. So it's not like they dropped the ball, so I'm going to switch.
Yeah.
And if you decide to do that, that's a pretty heavy lift
Yeah,
too.
sure. Yeah.
I mean, one of the best things that I think our relationships are getting out of this, not just our members, but our vendors, is the fact that we apply what we're utilizing to safeguard our systems to them, and then they start utilizing it themselves. We identify issues where they need to, adjust for the industry or whatnot.
Yeah.
And I like to say, we like to bless all of our vendors with that education and knowledge. So.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, it's interesting. We've been seeing the regulators really increasing their focus on cybersecurity. And if you look at every year, the SEC and FINRA publish what are their top priorities. And for at least the last 5 years, cybersecurity has been up there, and it absolutely it evolves. And the standards continually being raised. But ultimately, the reason that they care is, what's their purpose here? Why does FINRA and the SEC exist? It's to protect investors.
Right.
And so they're protecting investors, their money while it's here, but also back to the earlier conversation about the end clients of how do we protect their data getting out?
Right.
And my guess is that when FINRA and the SEC started thinking about cybersecurity probably 10, 20, 30 years ago, they probably didn't have that perspective. It was truly, how do we protect what's in those four walls? But the truth is that all of the things that they've brought forward have helped protect people beyond just their individual investments.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but have they not taken the lens that cyber is kind of intertwined and brought through the lens of Reg SP? And the collection of the privacy and the protection of client data.
Absolutely.
And so it's not just, it's a best practice. And I'm personally, for me, I'm thrilled that they're making it this important.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing in my mind. That's a really good thing. But by putting it through like actual documented regulation, they're setting firms and advisors up for accountability.
Absolutely.
And we can all debate to the degree we think that's good or bad. But if I'm an independent advisor, I'm taking this seriously. Our experience with the regulators on this topic has been really constructive and positive because of the zero trust footprint and platform that's been built by Justin and his team to do some of the things we've talked about today. And while they'll never endorse, they're satisfied that we've built something of substance,
Absolutely.
Of the material substance. And advisors, they don't know what they don't know, but the regulators, this is an everyday, ongoing,
Absolutely.
and it's low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
These things can be figured out quickly and easily.
It is an absolute expectation, and you raise a good point with Reg SP, and there's Reg SID, and that's all related to protecting client data. And so today it's cybersecurity, but before, I think when advisors are thinking about this in their office, they need to think, how am I protecting my client's data broadly? Because I've seen things in my career of people, they print off a tax form from the printer, and they print them off for a couple of clients, and they just happen to grab the top one for somebody else, shove it in an envelope, mail it off. They don't realize it, but when the client opens it, they've compromised their data. I had a situation at home where someone down the street worked as a CPA out of their office, and they threw away their trash, and their trash got torn into by an animal, and I found somebody's information sitting on my front lawn. Yeah. And so it's all of those things, and I think advisors need to think back to themselves of how I should be leading my relationships with the same level of care that I lead myself. And so how would I feel if my parent or my own or my child's information was compromised, either because somebody inadvertently mailed my information to the wrong person, they left it out, or they didn't take cybersecurity serious enough they said, nope, this is good enough. Well, what else? My lens would be, well, if you thought that was good enough, what else are you thinking is good enough that really isn't?
Yeah, I'm interested in your perspective on this. Do you feel that the regulatory bodies, SEC, FINRA, are right-minded around this topic? And how then do you feel in the founders world? We've not just checked the box. We've built the box.
Yeah. So in comparison, 5 to 10 years ago during audits, they had no idea what they were doing. They didn't know what to focus on. They didn't know what actually a part of cybersecurity actually meant. In more recent ones, they're bringing in CISPs. So those are very highly.
What's that?
It's a CISP. It's a certification that is given to certain individuals who know pretty much all aspects of cybersecurity.
Okay.
Whether it be physical security, actual data security, all the different postures, encryption security. They're bringing those individual specialists.
So they work for the regulators now.
They do.
Okay.
And actually, at their last meeting, I specifically knew there was a CISP in there, and I was looking for his responses and mannerisms.
Gotcha.
And during that entire meeting, to go on to the second part of your question, he was just like nodding his head, asking the auditor was asking questions. He was nodding his head. I was looking for responses. By the time we got to the last question, he said, "I don't have any questions.
Wow.
You guys are,
to the degree to which we can say, right?
Yeah. To everything that we're covering, everything that we need, you guys have already been doing.
Right.
And that's because we designed our system with the thought of, in 10 years, we need to be able to make sure that we're still adapting and overcoming all these securities.
Right.
So,
in many ways, I apologize for interrupting. In many ways, because we've built what we built, we actually empower advisors to be independent and able to own something and not have to worry, if that makes sense.
It does. And that's where I was saying earlier is like typically when you enforce higher levels of security, it's more difficult. But because of the way we've implemented our zero trust system, it allows them to continue doing their business. They don't have to think about their IT anymore.
Right.
Unless, something breaks, and then they just give us a call and we get it situated for them.
And so what I was wanted to give kudos to you and your team is I feel like the industry often says, I need a cybersecurity solution. What does the regulator require? And they build to that. And you took a different perspective and you said, we need a cybersecurity solution. what does the cybersecurity world expect and require?
Right.
And so you took the perspective of how does healthcare do it? How does defense do it? How do these other organizations that have really important information to protect, how do they do it? And because of that, we've built something that is far superior and has stood the test of time and is ready to evolve. Because as we evolve, we're evolving to the cybersecurity standard, not to the industry standard.
Yeah, a lot of the times the questions, and this has been brought up before, is my avenue of approaching these sort of things isn't a what do you need us to do? We'll do it. It's come at me. I've already designed the system the way I think it's best to serve and protect our people.
Yeah.
So.
It's a wonderful point. And I think it's the difference, to kind of just bring this full circle and summarize, it is the fundamental difference between founders and the industry. It's the difference between independence and alone and interdependent, built by and for shared resources, shared values. And, again, what is our simple purpose in life? It's to empower advisors to do great work for their clients.
Yep.
We are the means to their end, so they can be a means to their client's end. If this isn't something they ever have to worry about, the peacefulness that brings, and then the ability to go focus more on what's most important. Yeah, so it is actually, in many ways, and it's not an expense in our world. It is a enhancer of, if we're going to get the bottom line of economics, it's a revenue enhancer, because you're free to actually go serve and grow and not worry about this stuff. And so it's an interesting way to think about it. But cyber in our world and what we've built is a promoter of growth, not a deterrent to growth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks for spending time with us on the Built by and for podcast. If this conversation resonated, follow the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube, and share it with an advisor in your circle who's thinking about what comes next. To learn more about Founders Financial and our solutions for independent advisors, visit foundersfinancial.com. The Built by and for podcast is produced by Founders Financial. The opinions expressed by hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Founders Financial. Content is for informational purposes only and is not intended as investment, legal, or tax advice. Securities offered through Founders Financial Securities, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC, registered investment advisor. Copyright Founders Financial, all rights reserved.